an honor for me to have been asked to say a few words about Dottie and Bob Garner. It's incredible just to be able to say that we're friends, but it's really so inspiring to know them and to work with them. Bob and Dottie have given so much in the community in various causes to help this community only get better, and not only here in Sarasota, but where their home is originally in Charleston, West Virginia. I know from my perspective, being in the performing arts industry, how much they've given to their hometown of Charleston and what they've done to get the new Performing Arts Center complex built there, and to know how much in so many organizations that they've worked with here in Sarasota. I know what they've done for the Van Wezel has been incredible. Dottie and Bob have come on to support the hall in many ways, Dottie being the chair of many events in town, but for our gala, Dottie has done an incredible job the last couple of years and is going to always want to top herself, whether it's a Van Wezel event or whether it's one in the community. So, and Bob the same. Bob, the words I guess I use for both of them are passion. They're passionate about so many things. Recently, their desire and involvement in bringing a modern art museum to town is inspiring to all of us. The fact that they have this passion, not just for the Modern Art Museum, but the passion for the Florida West Coast Symphony, for the Van Wezel, for so many arts organizations in town is just so special.
Helen and Roy McBean, two of my favorite people in Sarasota. They have brought so much to this community, the west coast of Florida, the state. Yeah, I'd say probably the entire country. If we had more Helen and Roy McBeans in this world, I think the planet would be so much better off. What do they bring? Roy brings an honesty, a truthfulness, and integrity. When Roy says something, he means it. You can take it to the bank. He brings himself. He has great faith, not only in his God, but in people. And he has a huge commitment to this community and wherever he lives, to people, especially children. Helen, she brings the dazzle, the sizzle, the compassion. She brings a spotlight to others and is basically, in her own way, quite shy. You wouldn't really know it, but she is. She's there for you. If you say, Helen, I need, she doesn't even ask what for. She just says, I'll be there. But she also brings theater. You know, there's a wonderful radiance to Helen, and there's a rock solidness to Roy. And between them, they're pretty well giants.
I think a work ethic comes from values, and certainly both Grassi and Dennis came from families with very strong sense of value, and they have in turn established their family unit on values. And part of that is a very strong work ethic. Had they not both had that, they would be in a position to do the generous things they do for this community. So I think a work ethic is about values, it's about commitment, it's about clear goals and vision, and both Dennis and Grassi have all of that and more.
Well, character in the Garners is exemplified by what I consider almost ideal perfection. They I'm certain, have been instilled from birth to do and believe in that which is most honorable. I've never seen them be anything but most gracious to everyone they encounter. They both take on projects that seem almost humanly impossible because everything has a deadline, and they'll always meet it, and they'll always deliver what they promise to. And what more can I say? I'm sure what drives them is probably love, the need to be, their need to love, the need to be loved back by the people they hold in high esteem, and that seems to be almost anyone they encounter. They enjoy life because they get such great reward from giving so much of themselves continuously. I can't say anything more.
We're so proud to have Helen and Roy as our friends. We've traveled together, we've worked together in many situations in the community, and they're just wonderful people. Helen has a background in the arts, and she's been very involved with the Van Wezel and done so many things. And Roy, it's kind of legendary what he's done in this community. But they are people that know about good ethics, good character. They're terrifically dedicated people, and they love the community, and that's what I admire about them.
One of the first incidents I had with Roy McBean years ago that really shows you his character. He was on the scholarship committee of the Jazz Club of Sarasota, and we had gone through auditioning of a number of students, and one of them, who was one of the best, saxophone player, didn't own his own saxophone. So a couple of weeks after the auditions, Roy calls me up and he says, "I think I found a saxophone for this young man." And he said, I went to a policeman's meeting. Roy is an ex-policeman. I went to a policeman's meeting, and the chief of police, Chief Jolly, was there, and he was telling me about how he bought this instrument for his son, and he couldn't get him to practice, and he's sure sorry he's got it. And in about a day or two, Roy had figured it all out, and this other fellow had a brand new saxophone presented to him by Chief Jolly, and that just gave me an idea of the kind of person that Roy is.
Gracie is a person of flawless character. She's hardworking, honest, of the highest integrity, and she lives her life with complete compassion, especially for children and children who are in need. That is a tender spot for her, and she has been a patron saint of Child Protection Center for more than 15 years. She's just in the process of returning to our board after a year break, and we're lucky to have her back. We feel very blessed that she's coming back. Gracie has worked tirelessly for our center for a very long time, longer than I've been here, which is 10 years, and is completely 100% committed to serving her fellow man. She is a true humanitarian.
I had occasion to meet Helen and Roy McBean separately. They were both doing their thing to enhance the quality of our lives here in Sarasota County. I interviewed Roy on my television show some years ago. He was on Issues of Color to promote bringing the Bethune-Cookman Choir here for our children and for our community. And I was awed at how impassioned he was about a community that he was very new to. I could tell his sincerity, and I could tell that he was a fighter, a very quiet fighter, someone who would face the challenge of being a new person in a new community, but knowing what that community needed, he wanted to help, and he did. I was impressed with him and knew that our paths would continue to cross because he was Sarasota. I met Helen about a year later. I was serving on the board of the Sarasota Ballet of Florida, and Helen was an ambassador for the Sarasota Ballet. And it took virtually no time to figure out that Helen was one of those quiet, introspective, very powerful people who knew the secret to any community event, and frankly to any community success. She knew how to build consensus among people. Helen has this very quiet way of getting you to understand what's important in this life. She lets you know what her priorities are. She lets you know what she thinks is important, not just for herself, but for the community that we live in. And then she works in her quiet way to make sure the job gets done. I was impressed the first day that I met her, and I am very happy to know that she's been one of the people that I look and say, that's who I want to be in a few years. That's who I'd like to mimic. That's who I want to look like. That's what I want to be doing. I want to be helping. I want to be making changes. And I want to always be thinking about the greater good.
Grazie and Dennis McGillicuddy. They've been in Sarasota for so many years. They've done so much. Both of them are a joy to be around. Dennis, because not only is he very, very generous financially, but he's generous with his spirit and his heart, and he would protect the whole world. And I think that's what he does so well, is he puts his arms around everybody and says, you know, I'm doing guard duty now, and it's okay. Dennis is a big man, physically and mentally and spiritually, and I think a great deal of him. Grazie, well, she's the cheerleader, and she is everybody's very best friend. If there's a single person in this city that I think encompasses the phrase unconditional love, it's Grazie McGillicuddy. I've seen her spend time with people who just need a helping hand or a kind word. And I know how dedicated she is to the children. She rocks crack babies and finds great joy in it. And she'll get out on a stage and she will MC a show and find great joy in that. And she will stand up and publicly announce that she and Dennis are giving $1 million to a very worthy cause. And she derives great joy from that. And that's who Grazie is. She's a joy, and she finds joy. And she lets us in to experience the joy that she knows.
Little did I know, Dottie Bear Garner, that when I moved to Charleston, West Virginia, that you were only 7 years old. That was 64 years ago. I would never believe that I could be sitting here praising your accomplishments in Sarasota, Florida. Many memories flow back. The time that you were a little girl growing up with your brothers, the time that you were, you married Bob and he entered the scene and you were raising your children, knowing your father and mother very well and having them civically involved. They were a role model for you. Retiring to Charleston, West Virginia, recharged your battery, and Dynamo was born. You have raised millions of dollars for charity. You are organized, capable, and you seem to attract a wonderful group of girls that assist you in raising money. You raise money for millions of dollars and for arts and the human needs. I greatly admire you for what you do.
I think Grazie's motivation, and I know her fairly well, her motivation is a true sense of compassion for her fellow man. Everything she does with her whole heart, with tremendous enthusiasm. She loves everyone. I don't think she has an enemy in the world, and she especially loves children. I think she realizes that she is a person who is fortunate and blessed, and she is determined to share those blessings with as many people as she can. And so I would say that her motive is a compassionate spirit and a humanitarian approach to her whole life.
When I think of Dennis and Grazie McGillicuddy, I think of several things. I think of passion, great friends, good fun, and To sum it up in 2 words, simply the best.
Town wouldn't be the same without the McGillicuddies, nor the world. They're here, and I want to keep them here, and they're a vital part.
You have complimented each other and accomplished so much in making this community a better place. I congratulate you.
I think they're my perfect friend.
Not too many people have the energy level of Dottie Garner, and I must say that I guess the way to describe Dottie would be maybe she is just one happy hurricane. And speaking of hurricanes, if I ever have to go through another hurricane where we lose power, I truly believe that I could hook up Dottie to not only our home but a small city, and that energy could be generate all the electricity that anyone could ever want. She's just an incredible lady who not only gives energy to the organizations that she lends her support, as Bob does too in his own way, but Dottie, her energy is infectious. She affects everyone around it, again, for the betterment of this community. And all I can say, Dottie and Bob, thank you for the wonderful things you do for this community, specifically for me, for the Van Wezel Performing Arts Hall, but for so many of us in this community, that you are just the most special people one could have in this very, very special community.
There's a wonderful radiance to Helen, and there's a rock solidness to Roy. And between them, they're pretty well giants.
Just look at the Roy McBean Boys and Girls Club in Newtown. That's just an example of a person that came to a city, identified a need, and acted on it.
They have a very clear sense of what it means to make a difference, not just today, but in all the tomorrows that Sarasota will face. So that sense of purpose and that compassionate spirit that both Roy and Helen have are what motivates them, I think, to make a difference every day in some aspect of our community. They are true champions of compassion.
Oh, how I wish I could be in the room with everyone tonight. With the West Coast Center, with the McGillicuddies, the McBeans, and the Garners. What a combination. The work that's done by all of this group for this community is unbelievable. I love success. I love passion. To be here tonight to celebrate that would be a very special thing for me. And I wish them my heartfelt congratulations and say, way to go, continue the work, all of you. Thank you.
I have a thought in mind, let me tell